Welcome to the Workout Wednesday 2021, week 44 a solution video. This is Candor McRae, and we'll be walking through how we built this week's challenge. So in this week's challenge, what I wanted users to be able to do was to select a band, and it actually dynamically change the period that is driving the bar chart below. Related to profitability. So if a user selected month, then this would be monthly values, quarterly values, annual values. And also within this, I wanted the user to be able to identify the top and the bottom performers related to profit, as well as kind of have a catch-all for everyone else to kind of highlight the average of those performers. So let's see how we built this. So the first thing I'm going to do is connect to our sample superstore data that's within Tableau. And I'm just going to blow this up a little bit. And the first thing I'll want to do is create a parameter for the period, whether it's the month, a quarter, or year selection. Month, quarter, year. All right. And now I'll probably want to create an anchor field for an anchor date field, just so that my max is locked, just in case I bring any more data in or whatever I want to do, right? But I just wanted to kind of highlight that. So max of the order date. All right, and then we'll create 3 calculated fields, one to represent the month, quarter, and the year. So we'll do month. And this will just be if it's basically in the same month, and we'll use a date diff calculation for that. And our date part is month, order date, and we'll have our little anchor date there. And if that's equal to 0, meaning they're in the same, date part for the month, then we'll get profit. If I can spell profit. All right, cool. And then we'll just duplicate this. And we'll have this be quarter. And the only thing I'm going to change here is the date part to make that quarter. And I'll do the same thing for year. And make that year. All right, cool. So let's go ahead and build out this view. So the first thing I'm going to do is drag my measure names to columns, drag my measure values to text. Now I have every measure that's in this data set, but I do not want that. I only want the year, the month, and the quarter. So I'm just going to select those. And I'm going to do a little bit of, because I want these to be my bands. Just drag that on top. All right, so I'm going to make this way bigger. Let's make this like maybe 36. And we'll make this centered. And I think I want to change the number format so that I can see my dollar signs. And we're going to go ahead and hide this header because we don't need it, because I'm already signifying that it's month, year, and quarter based off of the measure names themselves. Cool, so first view is done. Next thing we're going to do is create our divergent bar chart. So I'll just call this bar chart. And what I will do is I need a calculated field that will dynamically, based off of whether a user selected month, quarter, or year, bring back the profitability of that total time period. So we'll just kind of create a new one. We'll call this new profit. Not super creative with the names, but it is what it is. So we'll have a if it contains the P for period, and then if this is year, then I always like to bring it down to the second line just to help me keep it organized. You don't have to, but it's something that I love to do. date, and then equals profit end. And then I'm just gonna go ahead and copy this because you guys don't feel like watching me type this entire time, hopefully. And all I'm gonna do is change out this to be quarter, this to be the quarter. And then I am going to also just duplicate this, and instead of, I'll just have an else here, and if it's none of these things, then just bring back the month. All right, cool. And I always like to test stuff just to, you know, I'm a trust but verify kind of builder. So got 8,500 there, quarter. All right, cool. I'm cooking with fresh grease. It's doing exactly what I expected to do. So I'll actually just throw that into my profit there. And then let's bring the subcategory. Now we're going to switch a lot of this stuff around, but I just always like to see what's happening. So I have it kind of ordered by profitability from highest to lowest. What I want to do is be able to isolate the top 5 and the bottom 5 and basically put everybody in the middle into an everybody else bucket. So the first thing I'm going to want to do is create a set, or 2 sets actually, one for the top and one for the bottom. So we'll just do top 5, and that's by our new profit. We'll call this the top subcategory set, and we're just going to go ahead and duplicate this because the only thing that's different is that this is the bottom, and we'll move that around. All right, cool. So now we're going to create a calculated field to kind of bring all this stuff together. So we'll just call this top or bottom. And basically it says if it's in the top subcategory set, then we'll call it top. Else if it's in the bottom, then we'll call it bottom. Else we'll call it everyone else. And we'll have it that way. So let's bring this into our view and see what it looks like. Make sure it's doing what we expect it to do. All right, kind of cool. I really want my top to be on the top and the bottom to be on the bottom. So let me go ahead and just do a global sort. And so I don't ever have to change this ever again. I like global sorts versus like just sorting it directly into the view. Just less places to touch, especially if I ever use this anywhere else. So it kind of is starting to resemble what I want, but I want all of this everyone else into one line. And I also only want to show the names of those that are in the top or the bottom. So I need to create another calculated field. And so this will just be called show the name. So basically if it's in the top set or bottom set, then subcategory, else, everyone else. All right. Let's bring this into our view and see if it is working as expected, and it does. So like we can get rid of this, and I like to keep everything in a kind of an orderly basis. But one thing that's kind of funky here is that my everyone else is all the way out here because it's actually the sum of all of the subcategories within this classification. So a way to kind of get rid of that is by leveraging an LOD. We'll just subcategory. So not much change there because it's still the sum. So we'll just apply a little bit of magic here, and now it's going to be the average of everyone else. So it kind of looks like everything's in line. So the next thing that we will want to do to kind of make sure, like to really kind of optimize the view, because right now everybody will have to go to figure out who's in the top and the bottom, they go over here, or they have to read all the way to the far left and try to manually or visually kind of assign those bars to the classifications, which are like almost 3 inches apart. that's not ideal. So what I love to do is to actually have the names of these categories, or the names, that the classification, actually hugging the bars, right? So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to use color to visualize if something's in the top or the bottom. So we'll just throw that into our color shelf, and we can actually just go ahead and like uncheck show header. And then now I actually have to find a way to get the column or subcategory labels next to the bars, right? And so it'll take a couple of calculated fields, but it is completely worth the effort. So let's just go ahead and create a, we'll just call this unprofitable subcat label. And it's basically like, oh, actually, I skipped a step. So a couple things that I want to do. One, I know for a fact I'm going to reuse this one. So I'm going to actually drag this down, and let's call this average new profit, right? And then the other thing is, in order to kind of get the hugging bar effect, I'm actually going to leverage a dual axis to actually make this happen. So, all right, and we'll make this a dual axis, and we will go ahead and synchronize. We'll turn this into a bar, and we'll nix these measure names to get out of that. All right, perfect. All right, so now let's create our unprofitable labels, because what I want to see is fasteners and all that kind of stuff to be on the, or the things that are actually unprofitable to actually be to the right of the bar, and the things that are profitable to be the left of the bar, and just kind of going from there. So we'll do one first just to test out the waters. And this will be something like if the average of our average new profit, the field that we created above, is lower, than 0 or less than 0, then show the name, the field that we did, otherwise end. And let's just test to see if this works out. So if I can actually keep grabbing it. There we go. All right, perfect. So it's doing exactly what we expect. So since that works, we're just going to go ahead and duplicate this. And all we'll do is change out the name to this and flip the sign, and we'll be good as golden. All right. I'll bring this to that shelf. All right. So there's something kind of funky going on, right? Because now all of our labels are to the right, and what I wanted to see was all the profitable subcategories for their labels to show up to the left of the bars, right? Now, some people would be tempted just to like do some alignment things, but that's less than ideal, because now we have the label overlapping with the mark, and that's not cool. And so there's a better way for us to kind of think about approaching this. So the first thing that we can do is actually change this to this chart type to a Gantt bar chart. And like it actually makes sense once you kind of put it all together, but initially it doesn't. So we're going to use that average new profit calculation, and we're going to use that as the basis of our size. And just like we did before, we're going to change the sum to an average so we can get our bars to be sized appropriately. And then, because this is kind of still a little funky, but the beautiful thing is now our labels, our bar labels, are to the left, except we need this to snap over here. So the way that we're going to actually do that is just by making that a negative sign, and pow, we're kind of in business. So now we have our labels where we expect them. The last step here, or one of the last steps, is actually to get the bar labels, right? Because we're already utilizing our label shelf or whatever for our subcategory, our unique subcategory alignment stuff. And so we need to find a way to actually get those values to actually hit on the ends of those bars, right? So what we can do is we can create a field or fields for our unprofitable and profitable value labels. All right, and we'll basically say something like if the same thing that we did before. So if the average of new profit is lower than or less than 0, then bring back the average of the profit. Otherwise, don't bring me back anything. Okay, and we will just duplicate this. And we'll just flip the sign just like we did. All right, and now we got to bring this into the view. So the way that we'll bring this into the view is we'll actually throw this into the details shelf, because what we'll actually do is create reference lines to get our labels on the chart. So let's do the first one. So we'll just add the reference line, and we'll do this on a per cell basis. And we got to select the right stuff when we want to do the value, and I don't want any lines there. And let's see if it works. All right, so it looks pretty solid. So now let's just do the same thing for our unprofitable value labels, which is actually I threw it into the shelf. And so we'll just add a reference line, and again, per cell, unprofitable, we'll do the values. I don't know why I can't. Let me just, I don't know what's happening there. All right, so you know what? I'm just gonna get rid of this. I don't know what happened there, but we're gonna just start a new one. All right. Cool beans. Why is it that I cannot select? This is the strangest thing. I need to be able to select my values. Okay, cool. And then I want, I don't really want this overlap situation we got, because I want this to be to the right of the, or to the left of the bar. So what I will actually do is just grab a little bit of that stuff and left align those labels. And you know, maybe I can also do some left alignment, center those bad boys, and I think we can be good. Maybe I'll do the same centering thing so that it's at least consistent. All right, cool. So we now have our divergent bar chart that has the hugging labels and all that good stuff, which is fantastic. We'll just do a little format cleanup here. You know, I'm just gonna get rid of these lines and get rid of the headers and all that good stuff. And let's bring all this stuff together into a dashboard view, and then we're almost done. So I'll just have my bands, have my bars, and just fit this view. We'll save the pretty formatting for later. It's fine. Don't judge me. All right, let's make this a little smaller. It's all good. And then we can get rid of all this stuff because we won't need it. And so our final step here, you know, kind of nice formatting aside, is to actually add a parameter action. And so we'll basically say, if you select one of these bands, I want you to pop over into the period selection using the measure names, and let's see if this works. So if I select quarter, this should actually start to update. Okay, so it looks exactly, it's performing exactly how we would want it to see. So let me know if you have any questions or if this was a helpful challenge, and happy visiting. Bye.